Klura says he finally knows what he wants. It is all that matters. She says to live freely. Our guy stands with his future band of misfits including Arya, Lena, and Belmo. The capital is bustling. A merchant welcomes Arya. He asks where her mom is, so she explains she came alone because her mother got caught up talking. He jokes about her mother's love for gossip. She demands he be serious. Arya looks up at a dark creature. A massive black dragon glares back. The market crowd freezes. The beast lands and turns several city blocks into a scenic pile of rubble while people scream in denial. It lets out a roar that rattles every bone in the city. Someone wonders why a Demon King's familiar is here. The girl stands frozen. An officer screams for everyone to form ranks. Royal Court mages arrive to save the day. The crowd actually thinks God is listening. The commander orders them to prepare offensive magic. He bellows for them to fire as they launch their spells. A massive blast engulfs the monster. The crowd cheers, thinking nobody could survive that hit. The smoke clears, and the monster doesn't have a single scratch. The commander panics and orders defensive barriers up. A young mage stammers out a terrified response. The dragon's dark beam snaps their barriers like glass. Survivors crawl through the ruins, admitting they don't stand a chance. The girl huddled on the ground screams for her mom as the dragon looms. A hooded figure sits and declares it is over. The stranger calls out the absolute demon god barrier. A glowing shield blocks the dragon's lunge completely. He casts heaven's blessing rain. Healing light falls on the survivors. One woman gasps as her wounds close instantly. The girl looks up in shock as they realize someone is in the sky. Someone screams that the savior is the Black Emperor. The legendary hero looks down silently. He conjures the demon god, slaying spear. He hurls the spear, and it pierces right through the monster's head. He watches calmly, noting that he didn't expect it to go down in one hit. He decides to finish the job. Dark energy spears manifest as he vows to keep going. It will be done. The beast tries to fire back, but he dodges with zero effort. He remarks that it figured as much. He says, "You're not getting away," and unleashes black magic. Magic spheres tear the creature's body apart. He floats over the dragon's remains. The city erupts in cheers. The girl asks as the savior descends. The girl thanks her savior in her head. He turns away and heads to the Adventurers Guild to report that it's done. Lena is amazed he actually took down the black dragon. He says he's been training for a long time. He mentions he was told he could retire if he took it down. She is completely lost. He announces his retirement as the entire room freezes. They cannot believe a rank 0 is quitting. Only 8 rank 0 adventurers exist. His sudden retirement shakes the world, but he vanishes without a trace. 3 years pass and he finally sees it. He starts a new life as the strongest unemployed man. The guild receptionist hands over a new adventurer card for Bran, officially marked as a rank 10 rookie. She explains that his magic has been registered into the plate and it is now his official identity document. He thanks the lady, though he is internally focused on the reality of being level 10. The woman reminds him to keep the license safe, since it is required for accepting and completing every request. Finally, the receptionist introduces herself as Lena and welcomes the boy to the town of Kret in the Relate Kingdom. He steps out into the busy streets to finally begin his long-awaited slow life. He looks around the town and admits it is a nice place compared to his old base. The capital of the empire was wealthy but overcrowded, and the constant hustle used to exhaust him. It has been 3 years since he hid his identity as the Black Emperor behind a sword, though he hopes he never has to use it again. He approaches the gate, satisfied to finally be a rank 10 adventurer like everyone else. The gate guard waves and congratulates the newcomer on his successful registration. He thanks the guard for the directions and asks about the nearby magic forest. The guard warns that the town is on the front line and herb gathering is a dangerous gamble. Rumors say one of the world's 5 demon lords lives right next door, which means monster sightings are through the roof. He clenches his fist with a smirk, knowing odd jobs are the most common requests in this region. The guard tells the rookie that he is counting on him to keep the peace. The boy decides to jump straight into work and look for a request immediately. He sets off with a goal in mind, ready to tackle the tasks ahead. He decides a home is more important than a job and enters a real estate office. A middle-aged clerk welcomes the visitor, though his jaw drops when the kid says he wants to buy a house. The agent invites him to take a seat while trying to process the request. Most adventurers live in inns because maintenance is expensive, but the boy remembers a lesson from Klura. The Sword Saint once taught him that having a place to return to is a good thing, no matter what it is. He explains that the last 3 years left him with plenty of funds to spend. When asked for specifics, he demands a spacious place with a massive bath. The clerk notes a remote property near the plains might be risky because of monster damage. They decide to head out and check the house together. The boy looks around the interior, clearly impressed by the size. The agent gestures to a large window while continuing his sales pitch. The clerk admits the house is remote, but it fits every single one of the boy's requirements. He immediately decides to buy it, which sends the agent into a fit of gratitude. The man starts explaining payment plans and loan options for the expensive property. The boy cuts him off and drops a massive, heavy bag of gold right on the table. The clerk's eyes practically bulge out of his head as he sees the sheer amount of coins. He apologizes for making the agent worry, while the man trembles over the 10 million gold coins. He admits carrying 1,000 gold coins is a hassle, but a spacious living room is worth the wait. Compared to his 10 billion reward for the dragon hunt, this mansion is a total steal. He looks up at the balcony, appreciating his new home. He realizes he can't settle down in narrow spaces anymore. Finally, he pulls out his rank 10 adventurer card and watches it sparkle in the light. He stares at the card, finally accepting his new identity as a common rookie. A faint smile touches his lips as he welcomes his new life. A flashback surfaces of a guild hall where old adventurers mocked him for being a rank 7 brat. The crowd murmured back then, calling his rank 0 recommendation a joke and waiting for him to fail. The Black Emperor sat silently while the veteran adventurers told him not to underestimate their world. His mentor, Klur, placed a hand on his shoulder and told him to ignore the noises of the masses. The Sword Saint reminded him that in a world of merit, he only needed results to shut them up. The masked boy gave a quiet acknowledgement as they prepared to leave together. The flashback shows the masked hero completing impossible requests at an unbelievable speed. Other adventurers watched in awe, realizing the monster in front of them was truly a rank 0. He would stand at the counter after every job, indifferent to the whispers of his greatness. Veterans laughed and cheered, marveling at how fast he could finish a quest. In the present, the Sword Saint sits alone by a window and whispers his name. Years ago, the mentor set his final task. He had to slay a dragon belonging to the first demon lord. She promised that once the dragon fell, he could do whatever he wanted with his life. The masked warrior adjusted his hood, accepting the command without even knowing if freedom had any meaning. At the counter, a receptionist mentions a noble has sent a specific request for the legend. She praises his perfect reputation, but the hero thinks he is just following orders. Suddenly, a group of trainee adventurers sprints past him, cheering loudly about their latest win. The lady scolds the children for running indoors while they offer a quick apology. The hero asks about the kids, and she explains they are rank 10 rookies who just registered. The children walk away, happy to handle the odd jobs that build their foundation. He wonders if jobs like cleaning and herb gathering have any real significance for an adventurer. The woman notes that while combat is their purpose, these small tasks matter too. He watches as a townswoman thanks the kids, telling them she is grateful for their help. The masked warrior reflects on how their plain work seems unremarkable from the outside. He mutters to himself about the nature of odd jobs while watching the scene unfold. A montage reveals the truth. Their herbs become medicine and their cleaning stops the spread of disease. He was struck by a sudden realization that he had never noticed such things before. Standing alone in the void, he admits his mind was only ever focused on the kill. He realized the monsters he hunted for nobles were just for trophies and specimens. The hero clenches his fist, knowing his past work almost never truly helped anyone. He looks at a happy family in town and decides he wants to do work that actually matters. Back then, he tried to take low-level jobs, but the guild official refused him based on policy. His mentor whispered his name, sensing his inner turmoil even then. He stood in shock as he realized he was trapped by his own elite status. He was told that freedom was the only way out of his cage. In the present, the boy looks at his card and realizes the Sword Saint knew this would happen. He lies back on his sofa, thinking his master just wanted his heart to be at peace. He admits he was hollow before and has 0 memories from before he met his mentor. He looks at his hands, wondering who he truly is, under all the armor. Finally, he shakes the thought away, telling himself that his past doesn't matter anymore. He sits up and repeats to himself that he is currently the rank 10 adventurer, Bran. The rookie stares at the card for a long moment, letting the truth sink in. He groans while getting ready, realizing he is finally free to live his own life. He decides to celebrate his freedom by heading out to accept a request while the sun is high. He opens his front door and wonders what his master is up to these days. The scene shifts to a meeting room where a large white building stands under a clear sky. The Sword Saint lets out a tired sigh, commenting on how persistent her guests are. The man sitting across from her, Vulcan, says she must surely understand why he is being so stubborn. The guild president demands the location of the legend once again. She tells the man to give it up and reminds him it has been 3 years. The president slams his fist on the desk, shouting that those 3 years have been an eternity. The man shouts that requests naming the hero are piling up like crazy. He asks why she is so obsessed with him and demands she move the other special rankers instead. He admits the other elite adventurers won't move no matter what he says. The mentor laughs and points out that it isn't that they won't move, but that he can't move them. The president grits his teeth while a pained expression crosses his face. The Sword Saint's eye narrows with a dangerous glint as she addresses the man. She asks him who he thinks he is trying to intimidate while she remains seated. The president looks horrified as an overwhelming pressure fills the room, making him struggle to breathe. He can barely move as her presence pins him down, despite his own rank 1 status. She warns that if she wanted to, their surveillance wouldn't stand a chance against a rank 0. The man stammers that this power is exactly why they need her apprentice back. The mentor sweeps documents off the desk, asking if he thought her student was a tool for his errands. She steps on the papers while accusing the guild of exploiting the boy's lack of will. She admits she only stayed out of obligation, but those days are long over. The woman reveals she made him an adventurer so he could find his own meaning to live. She leans in close to the terrified man and warns him never to get in the boy's way. The Sword Saint declares that her student has finally found his own path to freedom. A close-up of her cold gaze sends a chill down the president's spine. He can only shout a weak plea for her to wait as she prepares to walk out. The woman walks out of the office and slams the door, telling him the conversation is over. She mutters about how annoying the whole situation was while walking down the hall. The Sword Saint looks out the large windows and wonders how the hero is doing right now. She tells herself that as long as he's healthy, that is enough for her. Satisfied that her duty is done, she moves forward without a single regret. She smiles to herself, thinking that she might go and visit her apprentice soon. Meanwhile, the rookie stands before the board, eager to pick his very first odd job request. The guild board is a graveyard of chore requests like pet searches and city cleaning. Our guy realizes rank 10 jobs are about as popular as getting a root canal. Most adventurers only care about rank 9 monster hunts. 2 nearby questers chat about the lack of interest in gathering tasks. He settles on his first official gig and snatches a flyer for herb collection. Lena, the receptionist, takes the herb request from Bran. She registers his mission by dropping his card into a mechanical box. They wait a moment for the device to process the registration. He is impressed to see his card officially updated with the details. The rookie asks if she can show him what this grass actually looks like. She holds up a 2-leafed sample plant for him to identify. The moment he touches the leaf, a sharp pain explodes in his head. A flood of professional herbalist knowledge suddenly fills his brain. He brushes off her concern and heads out into the woods. The chore doer arrives in the forest ready to start the search. He spots the first herb and realizes they are growing everywhere. Thanks to his new knowledge, he knows exactly how to harvest them. He carefully cuts the stems so the roots can regrow for later. Just as he finishes, a translucent blob creeps up behind him. He faces the slime, a weak minion that usually suffocates unsuspecting victims. The creature lunges, but he is not exactly a normal target. He delivers a swift boot that shatters the monster instantly. The rookie shatters it with a kick and ignores the loot. He decides he is fine for cash and focuses on the herbs. The glowing slime core is left behind as he runs off. He gets excited seeing a massive patch of plants in the distance. He continues his search with a happy expression. Plants are harvested one after another. Dusk falls over the mountains as he finishes his first task. He lugs a massive sack of herbs back to the gates. He waves to the guard while thinking about the simple work. The receptionist is thrilled to see him return safely with the haul. She asks how the request went while he presents the heavy bag. He dumps a massive haul on the counter, making her jump. The staff member is baffled that anyone could be this excited. She looks at him with a puzzled expression. He looks back confused while waiting for his assessment. The girl hides a small laugh at his strange behavior. She tells him to wait a moment while she checks them. Nearby, 2 men gossip about recent oddities in the demon forest. They mention rumors of monsters wandering near the forest entrance. The adventurers joke about monsters growling inside the city walls. He listens intently to the talk about the supposedly peaceful forest. The receptionist suddenly calls out to get his attention again. She is overjoyed because his perfect herbs solve a major medicine shortage. The girl shakes his hands with high energy after the review. She rants about how most other adventurers are reckless meatheads. The staff member smiles brightly and thanks him for the huge help. She hands back his card and formally congratulates him on the success. They stand at the counter for the final official handover. She presents the updated card with a happy smile. He takes his card back, feeling a genuine sense of accomplishment. The rookie smiles warmly while looking at his new status. She watches him leave with a look of surprise and curiosity. Our guy looks at the guild board one last time before exiting. He walks through the quiet town streets as night falls. He proudly declares himself a professional chore doer and raises a fist. The moon shines over the peaceful rooftops of the city. The next day, he is already back on the clock for a search mission. He sprints across the rooftops with the speed of an elite assassin. He finally spots his target hiding in a barrel in a side alley. He has found the missing cat and moves in for the grab. He snatches the missing cat before it can escape into the city. The furball immediately starts clawing his face with pure animal rage. He tries to pet the creature, but it refuses to calm down. He struggles to hold on while the cat scratches his arms. He realizes that animals seem to have a natural hatred for his presence. The cat stretches and struggles while he tries to complete the job. He returns the beast and meets a merchant for a heavy lifting request. He hands the cat to a happy woman and wonders why he is hated. The scene shifts to a large warehouse area with wagons. Belmo, the trading company chairman, introduces himself to the worker. A massive stack of wooden crates looms in the background. The merchant explains that logistics jobs are usually ignored. He says people avoid it because it is backbreaking and underpaid. The chairman apologizes for complaining about his guild issues. He gives instructions to start loading the products into the wagons. The older man is stunned when our guy effortlessly hoists a massive crate. He walks past the shocked workers with the heavy load. He checks the crate while the staff looks on in disbelief. He asks if there is a specific order for the placement. The merchant can only scream in shock at the display of power. He starts lugging triple stacks while other workers are humiliated. He tells them that this much weight is still quite light. A worker tries to lift a single bag and fails miserably. The wagons are being loaded as he continues his superhuman work. He carries a vertical stack of crates with zero effort. The horse and staff are left speechless by his efficiency. The local laborers refuse to be outdone by the skinny newcomer. One worker loses his balance, and a heavy pallet starts sliding. The rookie lunges forward and catches both the man and the cargo. He asks if they are okay, oblivious to the fact that he saved them. He looks at the workers with a calm and kind expression. The girl in the warehouse blushes intensely after being rescued. The saved man is also left blushing and stuttering in awe. The workers are completely shocked by his incredible speed. The chairman is deeply grateful and praises his incredible strength. He checks the cargo and confirms that nothing was damaged. Other employees cheer for the hero of the warehouse. The older man even offers our guy a permanent job on the spot. The rookie is taken aback by the sudden invitation. He politely declines, preferring his current life as a chore doer. They shake hands as the merchant accepts his decision. The staff waves goodbye as the wagons head out. He walks away from the trading company satisfied with his work. A montage shows him weeding gardens for the local people. He is seen helping laborers with even more heavy sacks. He happily delivers goods to an elderly woman in town. He reflects on how glad he is to finally be useful to others. He vows to continue helping with any minor task that comes up. The receptionist delivers the worst news possible. He is rank 9. He tries to refuse the promotion with a look of pure horror. He is crushed and begs to stay rank 10 at the guild counter. Other adventurers stare as he argues against being promoted. The girl insists that guild rules make the promotion automatic. He collapses to the floor in total despair about his new rank. The staff member is baffled by his extreme negative reaction. He groans that surely someone out there understands the glory of rank 10. She explains that higher rank work ensures safety for citizens. A vision of people being protected from monsters fills his mind. She argues that pioneering new areas is an adventurer's mission. The young man realizes the logic behind her serious speech. He is relieved to find out he can still take low-level jobs. She confirms that rank 10 herb gathering is still available. His mood shifts instantly as he accepts the rank update. The girl sighs at how easily his panic was resolved. She prepares the mystery box to update his adventurer card. She mentions a new request for an instructor just as a girl enters. He looks at his new card with a mix of disgust and acceptance. The updated card is shown as he officially becomes rank 9. She asks for a special favor involving a newly registered rookie. A young woman with a butterfly clip arrives at the guild counter. A bright-eyed girl named Arya is introduced as his first mentee. He can only stare in shock at the idea of teaching a junior. The receptionist Lena screams at him to hear the deal. He refuses her request, saying teaching isn't his vibe. She insists he's responsible for the current guild situation. The trainee Arya watches the argument with quiet hope. She reveals his efficiency is ruining the guild economy for others. By taking all easy tasks, he's left only garbage for everyone else. Rookies can't promote because they're stuck with jobs they can't finish. People are failing missions because the difficult leftovers rely purely on luck. He finally realizes he's accidentally gatekeeping the entire beginner rank. He feels guilty for causing trouble while just trying to be helpful. Staring down in shame, he realizes things didn't go as planned. The clerk reassures him his quality herb gathering is highly valued. She notes that they're grateful he clears the miscellaneous task pile, but since he's cleared the board, she asks a complicated favor. She formally requests he teach his skills to other new adventurers. She pushes the paperwork forward, promising his knowledge is worth good money. She jokes that the task might get him promoted, making him sweat. He's skeptical since he doesn't know where his own knowledge originated. He accepts the task, making his new student extremely excited. The girl bows deeply and vows to work harder than ever. He tells her to relax, but her massive smile shows her enthusiasm. He's taken aback by her spirit, wondering why she loves chores. Lena hands over their cards, satisfied to have paired them up. Our boy tells his student it's time to head out. The duo waves goodbye as they leave the guild gates. They hike into the wild to begin their herb gathering lesson. As they hike, he asks how much she knows about forest gathering. She's eager to start and immediately tries to rip a plant out. He stops her, explaining that leaving roots ensures sustainability for others. They crouch down as he demonstrates how to protect the plant. He notes that using water containers is overkill for common herbs. He explains that overcomplicating simple tasks isn't cost-effective for them. He catches her staring with admiration, wondering if he was wrong. She's completely starstruck by his expertise, seeing he's the real deal. He blushes and tries to play it down as absolute basics. She realizes even simple tasks have deep layers she never considered. She notes that while people mock chores, nothing should be ignored. He smiles and warns that mocking small chores will bring trouble. She laughs at the cryptic advice, eager to learn even more. They walk together deeper into the forest to continue the lesson. He stops to point out some lulu grass near her feet. They crouch as she asks about the mana recovery properties. He plucks a leaf, ready to give another warning about it. He adds that there's a serious catch to using this plant. He warns it'll wreck your stomach raw, but suddenly freezes. He senses an intense presence and scans the dark tree line. She's confused by his silence, wondering what her instructor sensed. He eventually relaxes and dismisses the feeling as just his imagination. Time passes and they return as she announces he's rank 8. He looks completely drained by the news of his fast progress. The trainee celebrates her own promotion to rank 9 at counter. He begs to know if the promotion could have been avoided. He looks confused while the clerk continues to praise their efficiency. The junior makes a peace sign, thrilled with her new rank. He tells her someone like him is plenty for the training. She reveals the guild made him a permanent instructor after that. He's just happy to be useful as he hands over reports. As he walks away, veterans start whispering about the rumors. One man asks his friend about the weirdo who avoids combat. Gazille mocks him for vacuuming up requests and refusing to hunt. He laughs that others have passed him in rank already. The veterans are baffled why the guild gives him a girl. The younger ones are jealous while the clerk watches with worry. He's not thrilled about already having an alias in the guild. He prepares to head out for more work, waving goodbye. The clerk watches him leave with a gentle, curious smile. She thinks to herself that he's the strangest person she's met. Rena jumps out and scares the poor clerk, immediately gossiping. She smirks, noting he never says a word back to gossip. She claiming his lack of motivation makes his new title earned. The clerk insists he's a huge help with the leftover requests. The friend mocks his gloomy face and his messy hair. She laughs that he's definitely not lover material for anyone. The clerk snaps and slams the counter with a bang. She screams at her friend, silencing the entire guild hall. The gossiper admits she's only looking for a wealthy, strong husband. She swoons over elite heroes, dreaming of marrying some noble blood. The rest of the hall is on edge during the talk. She says it's better to eye promising low-rank guys. The clerk insists she's not even looking for a lover. Her friend gets a mischievous glint, demanding her ideal type. She won't let her go until she answers the grilling questions. The clerk admits that a low-rank adventurer is better. Her friend is shocked, since he won't earn any money. The veterans lean in to listen to the surprising choice. She says being able to stay together is most important. Her friend is left speechless by the sincere, simple logic. Her friend mentions her father, making her expression turn sad. He was an adventurer who died during a dangerous request. A young girl cries into her mother's arms after news. She says everyone called him brave, but she just wanted him. Her friend listens in silent empathy as she reveals everything. The rowdy veterans are touched, and Gazille actually looks moved. Her friend points out that being with adventurers is difficult. Suddenly, she realizes that the chore guy fits her ideal. She laughs that he's the closest thing to her dream. The clerk is caught off guard and blushing while being teased. She smiles to herself, thinking about him in a new light. He's busy hauling massive crates when his student finds him. He assumed she wanted training, but he turns down combat. She needs help gathering Aurum fruit in the Forest of Demons. He agrees, realizing he's never set foot in that particular forest. She feels bad for interrupting him while he is busy. He decides they should just head out right now instead. He rockets away with heavy crates, leaving her stunned by speed. She's amazed that even a rank 8 has that capability. She realizes she can't run fast or carry that much. She watches his vanishing figure, wondering about her own strength. Her mood drops, but she quickly slaps her own cheeks. She vows that she decided to get stronger no matter what. She screams her resolve to work harder. and her mentor reappears. He asks if he kept her waiting, confusing her with speed. He tells her they need to set off for the forest. A shot of the dark forest canopy from above. A mysterious girl is crouching on a massive tree root. She looks completely terrified by an impossible presence she's sensing. She shouts that they were supposed to have killed that monster. A wooden nightmare behemoth rises, its limbs spreading as roots lash. A giant snake lunges at the junior with its gaping maw. She launches a water ball at the creature as it hisses. Arya leaps through the air with a battle cry and delivers a powerful strike to a large snake monster. As the beast falls, Bran claps and offers praise for the clean kill. The girl smiles broadly, laughing that she has been training hard to become a real adventurer, which the boy can clearly see for himself. While walking through the woods, he notes that only weaklings show up near the entrance, and even low. Rankers can handle themselves here. The student confirms she has always wanted this path, but reveals her motivation started 3 years ago when her home was attacked by a black dragon. He looks surprised by the mention of the dragon, but the student continues her story. She recalls the kingdom's soldiers fighting with everything they had, but they didn't stand a chance as the town was destroyed while she could only cry. She thought it was over and was about to give up when someone appeared. The girl recalls her salvation, describing how the masked Black Emperor swooped in out of nowhere to block the dragon with a barrier. She explains he healed the entire town with magic, fixing serious injuries instantly like a saint overflowing with compassion. He summoned a mysterious pitch, black spear to slay the dragon in a single strike, an incredible feat that left her in awe. Presently she claps her hands and declares she wanted to become someone who could protect others too. While he just sweats hearing this praise of his own secret identity, she smiles warmly and declares that her savior is her role model. The boy stares in silence, find it strange to think his past actions actually inspired someone. His reflection is interrupted by a shout as another snake monster lunges from the trees toward them. The monster hisses as it strikes. The student quickly slays the beast, and the mentor confirms there is nothing dangerous left, praising her good form with the sword. They spot a bush laden with fruit, and she excitedly asks if they are the olim fruits they were looking for. He confirms the find as his knowledge skill uploads new data about the plant. She asks for picking advice, and he warns her not to bruise them. He continues his advice, noting that if the stem remains too long, it can scratch the other fruits during transport. The student promises to be careful as they continue their harvest. Suddenly, the boy senses a magical pressure even greater than the dragon's, realizing he wasn't imagining it. He wonders if the third demon king is nearby, but decides to stay quiet and observe for now. He looks toward the depths of the woods, baffled that he feels no hostility in such a dangerous place. He suggests they head back before dark, and the girl agrees with a cheery smile while holding her heavy bag of fruit. The mentor remains curious about the strange pressure, but keeps observing as they begin their journey home. In a blur of motion, he performs incredibly fast strikes to harvest orange fruits perfectly. The boy finishes his high-speed harvest as orchard workers stand nearby with their jaws dropped in shock. One shouts that he sliced just the stem without damaging the fruit at all, which is simply amazing. The owner of the orchard rushes up and offers him a full-time job for finishing the work in record time. He politely declines the offer, while another worker jokingly calls him a lucky ladies' man. Walking through town, the boy is stopped by a guard who asks if he is working a bit too hard. He looks surprised, but the guard points out he has been out picking herbs every single day. The rookie replies that he doesn't really feel like he's overdoing it, honestly. The guard insists that taking breaks is important and remarks that he really is a dedicated adventurer, as the boy sits on a bench. Sitting on a bench, he thinks about how his old life was spent chasing jobs without ever taking it easy. He admits that maybe relaxing is not so bad, which the street stall owner agrees with. The merchant says Claret is a great town and suggests exploring more than just the demon forest. The boy asks for a recommendation, and the owner grins, handing him another grilled meat skewer as a selling point. The armored guard jokingly warns the boy not to fall for the sales pitch. The stall owner acts offended by the guard's joke, shouting that his food is a serious draw. The boy munching on his skewer admits the merchant has a point about not ignoring the local culture. With newfound enthusiasm, the rookie resolves to explore the land more regularly. The owner laughs and offers another skewer on the house, saying it is only fair since the boy has helped him too. The boy yelps as he takes the hot skewer, thanking the man for the generous gift. The boy is modest when told how much the townsfolk appreciate him, saying he is just doing his job. The merchant explains that thanks to the boy's regular foraging, they have stocked up plenty of healing potions. A small scene at a shop counter shows people being helped by the boy's efforts. The owner puts a hand on his shoulder, telling him to eat as much as he wants because they are counting on him. The rookie looks surprised by the level of gratitude being shown. He smiles and gladly accepts the offer as he continues his meal. He reflects on how monster hunts pay better, but promotions are tied to those big rewards, making small favors rare. He realizes food tastes incredibly good here, wondering why he was so lifeless in the past. A flashback shows a grumpy-looking boy eating with Master Klur, and he thinks he owes her for the change in him. The workers remark that monster hunts hit the adventurer spirit just right, though they hate to admit it. The rookie insists that errands can be cool too, which leads to a long silence from his companions. They stare at him, thinking he is a good guy but still definitely weird. The owner mentions that a girl at the guild was stressed out lately, warning the boy not to give her too much trouble. Another man enters and tells the group not to hog the boy for themselves. A crowd of citizens surrounds the boy, showering him with food and baskets of items as a thank you. He tries to protest that he can't carry everything, but the people insist he take the vegetables as a reward for his help. He shouts out a thank you as he is nearly buried under the mountain of gifts. A woman watering plants nearby watches the scene and is amused by the boy's popularity. Walking down the street like a pack mule, he is greeted by a woman who calls him a handsome devil. She asks if he is thinking of backyard farming, which makes a light bulb go off in his head. He realizes it's a great idea and asks for advice on what to grow. The girl in the garden shop is happy to help him get started with his new hobby. The shopkeeper recommends toma root, explaining it grows like crazy with barely any water. Wiping sweat from his brow, the boy completes his planting at home. He stands satisfied in his yard, looking back at his house after finishing a neat row of crops. He is glad his mystery knowledge came in handy for gardening and gives him something to look forward to. He enters his home and closes the door with a loud thud. Walking up the stairs, he realizes this is the first time he has just relaxed here since buying the house. The boy heads toward the bathroom, ready for a soak. He lets out a long sigh of relief as he sinks into a steaming hot stone bath. Relaxing in the water, he thinks about how great days off feel and what a waste it was to wait so long. He reflects on passing by so many things in his past because he was too listless to care. The boy dunks his head underwater for a moment before resurfacing. He rests his head on the edge of the tub, looking at the ceiling. Steam rises as he continues to soak in the hot bath. Resurfacing, he catches his breath and wipes the water from his face. With renewed determination, he clenches his fist and resolves to get back to work starting tomorrow. Back at the guild, the red-haired clerk notes he is taking another gathering request, despite his motivation. He gives a cheeky grin, and she mentions that his student took the same request a while back. He is surprised by the news and wonders if they might run into each other. As he waves goodbye, the girl warns him to be careful because the forest is dangerous even near the entrance. The clerk watches him leave, noting his casual response to her warning. The receptionist watches him walk away, feeling weirdly nervous after the talk with Lena. Reina had said a lot, and the clerk sighs to herself that she doesn't actually care about the boy or anything. Suddenly, the guild doors burst open with a loud bang. A man rushes in and shouts that there is terrible news. The staff members look over in shock at the sudden intrusion. The messenger collapses to his knees in the doorway, gasping for air as everyone gathers around. A crowd gathers around the messenger, asking what is wrong and if he is all right. The man gasps that a terrifying grade 3 tyrant golem has appeared in the demon forest. Lena is horrified by the report, confirming it is at the entrance when she thought it would be in the depths. Adventurers scream that there is no dungeon in this tiny city. So high, ranks shouldn't even be here to help. The messenger adds that there were actually 3 of them, which is insane given that grade 4 is usually the limit here. People wonder if the soldiers have been notified as they curse the terrible timing of the attack. Branch leader O enters the room and shouts for everyone's attention regarding the emergency mission. He confirms the golem appearance and orders all adventurers grade 7 and above to prepare for city defense. He tells everyone grade 8 and below to stay away from the woods, but a man points out O can't take them alone. One staff member notes this is a mandatory request binding under guild contract, giving them no choice but to obey. Staff members prepare to move as Lena shouts for O, sans attention, looking terrified. She reveals there are grade 8 and 9 rookies currently in the forest on missions. She points out the Olim fruit collection request on the board, and the branch leader is shocked by the news. The leader realizes she is talking about the infamous errand guy and curses the terrible timing. The girl mentions the student hunts occasionally, but the errand guy's sword shows no sign of ever being used. A memory of the 2 at the guild counter surfaces as they worry about their combat ability. Lena clutches her skirt, trembling as she realizes what this means for their safety. The branch leader grits his teeth, looking serious about the decision he must make. He starts walking up the stairs, declaring that they are likely useless in a fight, and the guild can't afford to worry about them now. Lena is devastated, shouting that he can't be serious about leaving them to die. U says that in a crisis like this, they can't spare people to rescue low-ranked adventurers. He concludes that protecting the town comes first and tells her to let them go. The girl is left in tears, pressing her face against her hands in despair. On the forest floor, a broken blade lies abandoned in the grass. Injured and defeated, the student slumps against a tree and cries that she does not want to die here. She calls out for her savior as the shadow of a massive monster looms over her. The gargantuan tyrant golem stands over its victim with a single glowing eye as humanity faces overwhelming despair. Bran stands in the forest looking perplexed, wondering why there isn't a single olem fruit or even herbs in sight. He stares at the barren landscape, questioning if it's even possible for things to just vanish from where they were. He reasons that even if monsters ate them, there would be tracks, and wonders if Arya beat him here despite his warning about overharvesting. Panic sets in as he realizes he might fail his first errand, right when he was establishing himself as the town's reliable errand guy. He clutches his head in despair, terrified of losing the trust of the guild and the townspeople. Suddenly, his comedic breakdown vanishes as he senses a dark, powerful presence manifesting behind him. Bran feels an overwhelming power, estimating it to be grade 4 or perhaps even grade 3. He steps forward, noting that monsters of this caliber weren't supposed to appear in this forest. He looks deeper into the woods, realizing this threat is far too much for the local adventurers to handle. As the trees part, he spots a massive wooden monster with a single glowing eye. The entity is identified as a grade 3 wood, element plant monster known as a tyrant golem. The golem is absorbing the forest's magic and life energy, which is exactly why the mana-reliant plants have been dying off. He deduces the only reason he can't finish his errand is because of this thing. He resolves to take it down quickly and get back to his regular work, but a creaking sound catches his ear. He stops as he notices a figure collapsed against a tree, weakly calling out for help. Horror strikes him as he recognizes Arya, wounded and barely able to whisper for help. The golem lunges for the final blow, but he moves with blinding speed, unleashing a devastating horizontal slash. He stands protectively over the unconscious girl, his sword drawn as he glares back at the looming monster. The golem begins to crumble from the sheer force of his strike as he rushes to his mentee's side. He calls out her name, frantically checking for signs of life. He uncorks a healing potion with his teeth and carefully pours the glowing liquid over her wounds. The magic takes effect immediately, stabilizing her as she lies in the grass. He's glad he carries top-quality potions, noting that she should be stable for now. He watches her closely as the potion works its magic, but a strange haze begins to gather around them. Confused by the sudden change in the air, he looks up, trying to remember something his master taught him. He places a cloth on her forehead, wondering what that haze could possibly be. He lifts her into his arms, deciding he needs to get her back to town immediately. He resolves to ask his master about the haze later, focusing entirely on her safety. As they leave, a massive flash of light erupts behind them, illuminating the forest floor. He reaches the gate with the girl on his back, leaving the crowd stunned that the errand boys actually returned safely. A man blocks his path, leading the errand guy to wonder who he is dealing with. The imposing figure is revealed to be branch leader Wu, who looks absolutely terrifying. Meanwhile, the rescued girl finally groans as she begins to wake up in a proper bed. The girl sits up in the quiet infirmary, wondering where she is. Lena, the guild receptionist, bursts in with a joyful smile, thrilled to see her awake. She confirms Arya is at the guild, explaining that a massive violent golem appeared in the forest. The girl listens intently, her eyes wide as she remembers the danger she faced. The receptionist reassures her that all the necessary information has been received and tells her to rest easy. Relief washes over her as she realizes she's finally safe. Back in the hall, she asks if the guild sent help, only to find out things aren't that simple. Suddenly, a loud wailing sound erupts, catching everyone off guard. Branch leader Wu is sobbing hysterically, screaming about how glad he is that they made it back. He catches the errand guy in a bone, crushing bear hug, swinging him around while apologizing for not going to help. The wailing is so loud it drifts right into the infirmary room, leaving the girls baffled. Lena awkwardly explains that the emotional man is actually the branch leader. She admits that while he's usually strict, he clearly has a very intense emotional side. The girl laughs it off, finding him quite interesting, while the errand guy looks like his soul has left his body. The mood shifts when the receptionist reveals that her actual rescuer was none other than the errand guy. The receptionist explains he just happened to be on another request in the same forest. He claimed that by the time he found her, the golem had already vanished. The girl looks down thoughtfully, seemingly skeptical of that convenient timing. The receptionist starts taking notes, asking for a full report of what actually happened in the forest. Arya recounts a sudden swarm of monsters deep in the forest, followed by the golem's appearance. She was sent flying and lost consciousness just as the monster was preparing to finish her off. Lena is skeptical, noting that the errand guy has never even taken a subjugation quest. She points out he's never shown even a hint of combat ability, yet the girl is certain he's the one. Still, the fact that an explosion from a fight was visible all the way from the city proves someone was out there battling. The girl is amazed that her wounds are completely gone, not even hurting a bit. Lena agrees that her total recovery must be thanks to the mysterious hero. She wonders if a high-ranking adventurer was nearby, or maybe even a wandering rank 0 hero. She ponders the possibility of the legendary Black Emperor being in Claret. The girl's eyes widen as she realizes that might actually be the truth. The girl decides that no matter who it was, she has to find them and give her thanks. She smiles, her determination clear while O's yelling continues in the distance. The branch leader is still thanking the errand guy at the top of his lungs while holding him aloft. The two girls can only laugh awkwardly at the chaotic scene playing out nearby. Finally, the guild staff member loses her patience, scolding the leader to stop making a scene and get back to work. Bran is desperate for work, pleading with the receptionist to let him take a mission. She gives him a sympathetic smile, but the board behind her is covered in restriction notices. She explains that missions for rank 7 and below are currently suspended, and he'll have to reach rank 5 or 6 before he can enter the forest again. A month passes and the investigation is still dragging on, much to his frustration. Lena maintains that the lives of adventurers come first, even if low ranks are struggling without jobs. She holds out a paper, suggesting he use this downtime to apply for a rank promotion exam. The receptionist is left blinking at empty air, when the boy vanishes instantly. He walks through town looking exhausted, annoyed that a single monster caused this much disruption. He considers just heading home to tend his garden, but realized he's truly stuck without any work. He stops in his tracks, questioning if sitting around waiting for a fix is what a self-proclaimed errand guy should do. Determined, he decides that he isn't going to let his peaceful life be ruined like this. He realizes that if he takes care of the cause himself, everything gets resolved. He's not going to let anyone mess with his hard-earned errand boy life. He sprints through the town, passing by bystanders in a literal blur. He effortlessly scales a high-perimeter wall while the guards are looking the other way. He uses a tree to launch himself over the final barrier, landing silently on the other side. Crouched in the grass, he checks his surroundings and is satisfied that no one saw him leave. He looks back at the town gate one last time before focusing on the task ahead. The forest is vast, but he plans to track the same magic signature he felt during the golem attack. He begins walking through the thick brush, weighing his movement options. He considers flying to save time, but decides against it because something might sense his magic. He thinks to himself that getting detected would just be too annoying to deal with. He decides he'll just run, reasoning that he'll reach his destination eventually no matter the distance. He breaks into a fast jog, moving effortlessly through the terrain. A massive creature suddenly crashes through the trees nearby with a heavy thud. He stops and looks surprised, realizing this is one of the monsters that the girl mentioned seeing. The beast is fleeing from the forest depths, clearly terrified of whatever is down there. A rank 6 rock grizzly roars and lunges at him with its massive jaws wide open. He shows zero fear, simply leaping high over the creature's head while apologizing for being in a hurry. He hops off a rock, effortlessly bypassing the dangerous predator. He waves back dismissively, telling the confused grizzly he'll see it on the way back. He starts to look annoyed as more rank 3 monsters like a berserk treant and chaos monkey appear. Another tyrant golem blocks the way, reinforcing how dangerous this area has become. He wonders if the high-rank monsters are only here because the guild hasn't explored this far yet. He continues leaping through the trees, muttering that this many enemies are actually getting in his way. A chaos monkey roars as he vaults over its head, completely ignoring its attack. He speeds through the canopy, frustrated that the trip is taking longer than expected. He realizes that handling this many rank 3 enemies would normally require at least rank 2 skill level. A small smile touches his lips as the chaos reminds him of his hellish training days. The memory of his master's voice rings out as she screams his name during a drill. In the flashback, his mentor screams that if he loses focus, he dies, demanding to know if he understands. The young boy weakly replies, "Yes, ma'am," as she orders him to never let his guard down. He didn't think much of it then, but now he realizes that kind of training was definitely not for kids. Back in the present, he continues through the woods, standing near a pile of defeated monsters. The sun sets over the forest as 3 days pass since he began his solo mission. He realizes the investigation area is far too large and worries the guild will get suspicious of his absence. He imagines the dead stare Lena would give him if he got caught in a lie. He also cringes at the thought of being crushed by O's emotional pecs and sweat again. He finally comes to a halt in front of a giant glowing plant that serves as the core of the forest's magic. He looks up at the massive structure, realizing this entity is in a whole different league than the golem. Our boy and Gazelle haul a massive monster carcass. They drop the massive carcass with a heavy thud. Our boy insists he isn't the one who killed it. The teammate admits he didn't do it either. The teammate demands a proper name. The errand boy admits he's usually just called Odd Jobs. He finally introduces himself as Bran. The teammate sprints off, vowing to pay back the favor. Back at the guild, Lena watches from her desk. Satisfied with his work, he heads back inside. He checks the request board for his next task. He enters the sewers for his next task. He uses mana to see in the dark. He finds only monsters in this abandoned place. Nobody wants this thankless, low-paying job. A swarm of pests scurries out. He kicks them away with annoyance. He wonders how to dispose of the mountain of corpses. He doesn't want anyone to know he killed them. His incineration magic is too powerful to control safely. He settles for a tiny fire to avoid trouble. Regina has cornered the Holy Thunder Beast on the mountain. She smiles, satisfied that the long chase is finally over. The warrior pulls a knife to finish the fight. Everyone told her hunting this massive lightning tiger solo was suicide. She hits the dirt hard in the present, knowing they were finally right. She grins through the pain and charges back in. She has spent 4 years fighting this beast repeatedly. The monster catches her in a massive electrical blast. She laughs off the insane damage and keeps pushing forward. She delivers a finishing energy slash, thanking the beast for training her. She cheers as the massive creature finally goes down. She hopes this victory brings her closer to her target. She is shocked to hear her target has retired. The receptionist notes his absence has left a huge hole. They need her help to clear noble requests he handled. She screams that the Black Emperor cannot run from her. Meanwhile, our guy wakes up with a sleepy yawn. Arya is pumped to help the townspeople with farm work. The instructor warns her there isn't much to learn here. She insists on being the kind of adventurer people rely on. He realizes her spirit is actually quite brilliant. A farm woman greets the pair, delighted to have some extra help. A nearby sheep adds its own extremely loud and annoying greeting. The plan is to clean the shed while herding livestock. The boy is actually the one who is more worried. Experience wasn't a requirement, so they just get started. He heads off to prep some cleaning supplies. The girl freezes in fear of the fluffy animals. He is amused that livestock scares her more than snakes. She yells for the sheep to get moving already. They ignore her nicely phrased requests to leave. The door is wide open, but the animals refuse to budge. Frustrated, she tries to shove them out by force. She wonders how a simple sheep can be this solid. It suddenly bolts, sending her flying into the dirt with a loud cry. He catches her as she falls back in defeat. She apologizes for being completely useless against livestock. She is frustrated that the animals just scoffed at her. The protagonist decides to give the herding a shot. He admits he usually gets along terribly with animals. He stands before the flock and releases a terrifying aura. With a dark look, he orders them out. The horrified sheep bolt instantly. The girl is stunned that even the stubborn ones finally gave in. He casually explains that he just intimidated the animals a little. Bran admits that his herding strategy was almost too effective since he did not expect it to work so well on animals with zero reasoning skills. Arya watches the terrified sheep and wonders if they are instinctively sensing some demonic presence like the one Nachuru mentioned earlier. He notes that if a normal person felt that level of intimidation, they would probably wet themselves or just pass out before she suggests they start cleaning while they can. She gets right to work with a shovel, looking determined to carry her weight despite the lingering chill. The pair splits the chores, with one scrubbing the high beams while the other handles the low walls. By the time they finish, the shed is actually shining, and she seems pretty pleased with the result. The girl takes a deep breath to give it her best shot. She screams at a stray sheep to get back inside, putting every ounce of effort into her voice. The animal just stares at her blankly before wandering off, leaving her completely ignored. She slumps over in defeat, admitting that intimidating things is way harder than it looks. The boy finishes herding the last of the flock into the enclosure with a simple command. She asks if he would ever consider taking a formal request to teach her how to be that scary. He says he would not mind teaching her a little if that is all she wants. The farm owner arrives and is shocked to see the job already finished, calling the speed of their work amazing. The client laughs that her moody babies were well behaved for once while he just smiles and says they were perfect. The client is so satisfied that she promises to call on the dependable duo again in the future. Later at the guild, the boy drops a sudden bombshell by announcing he is taking a full month off. Lena, the receptionist, and the girl standing nearby are both stunned silent by the unexpected news. The girl panics, wondering if he is leaving because she is such a slow learner, but he reassures her she is doing just fine. She cheers up instantly when he tells her to just keep up the repetition. Gazelle walks over and asks why he is even bothering to report a vacation, when adventurers are free to do whatever they want anyway. The boy is genuinely confused, and asks if reporting it is not mandatory, which just gets a deadpan response from the staff. He thinks back to his time as the Black Emperor, when rest was literally forbidden, and even extreme cases needed formal requests filed in advance. The receptionist admits they might worry if he vanished for days, but confirms that breaks are completely up to him. He reveals he plans to head home to the Ledion Empire, which surprises her since it is a 2-week trip, one way. She notes that the Empire is where the legendary hero was most active and asks if he knows anything about what the guy is up to now. He just gives a vague answer while watching the other adventurers play around in the background. He imagines the hero is probably living his best life, while the receptionist wonders what that would even look like. The loudmouth duo starts screaming that he is unforgivable for leaving them for a month, until the branch chief yells at them to shut up. The receptionist laughs and thinks maybe the kids are right about missing him before they demand he bring back souvenirs. He waves a final goodbye and heads out of the guild, while the staff wishes him safe travels. Rina watches him leave and admits she did not know he was from a major country like the Empire. She points out that even the menial tasks he likes are more plentiful there, so ending up at their tiny guild branch makes no sense. They discuss how the Empire is famous for its each ES-class talent, making his registration at their backwater office even more suspicious. The receptionist agrees that prying is bad manners, but she still cannot help but wonder why he picked this specific place. The conversation shifts to teasing when one friend asks if the other is actually into him. The girl screams in denial while her friend warns her that a guy with zero ambition is a total disaster. She laughs and calls them a perfect match, though she suggests picking someone with fewer skeletons in their closet. Later that night, the traveler sneezes by a campfire and thinks he probably stayed out way too late. He calculates that the trip home takes a full month on foot, or 1 week if he bothers with a carriage. A passing wagon pulls up, and the driver warns him that traveling these roads alone is suicide. He is about to give a polite answer when a group of giant boars erupts from the brush with a massive roar. The terrified travelers scream as the monsters lunge toward their carriage. The leading beast snaps its jaws, ready to tear into the group of defenseless civilians. He stands in the middle of a glowing strike, having already dealt with the threat in an instant. The travelers crowd around their lifesaver, thanking him and offering to give him a ride to repay the debt. The man repeats the offer, but the boy politely declines, saying he would rather enjoy the journey on foot this time. A little girl leans out to offer him a piece of candy as a thank you for protecting them from the scary monsters. He stands on the road and waves goodbye as the carriage rolls toward the distant mountains. He eats the candy and decides that saving some travelers is a pretty good omen for the start of his vacation. The incredible flavor takes him by surprise, making him realize the world is even bigger than he once thought. He briefly regrets turning down the wagon ride, but hopes he can at least buy more of the fruit in the capital as souvenirs. Looking at his map, he chooses a shortcut through the mountains to avoid scaring people with his inhuman running speed. He stretches his arms and takes a deep breath, ready to finally relax and enjoy the fresh forest air. 3 days later, he is already getting bored after getting more than enough forest bathing during his training sessions. He crouches on a branch, having sensed a strange presence nearby. He jumps down to investigate a shimmering barrier he discovered hidden among the trees. Touching the magic field, he decides it would be a total waste of energy to just shatter the thing. He gives a tired sigh and decides he might as well deal with it since there's nothing else to do. He realizes the barrier feels similar to the one from the sewer incident, though this one is definitely weaker. He presses his hand against the rippling magic to find a way through. The field distorts under his touch as he prepares to bypass the security. He peers through the brush and spots a stone building, wondering if he has stumbled onto a bandit hideout. He watches a building where guards are loafing around outside. One guard complains about the need for sentries when they have golems set up for some special experiment. He listens in silence as they boast about the good life they are living, thanks to the illegal research. The criminals start talking about ruining girls and stealing some fun for themselves once the project is finished. The trashy duo laughs that the women are already broken by the time they get them, causing his rage to boil over. The guards stop laughing when something suddenly falls from above and hits the ground. They turn to check out the noise, wondering what just landed in their yard. The intruder appears from the shadows and delivers a deadly strike to one guy's neck before he can react. The second guard barely begins to ask what that noise was as his partner goes down. Blood sprays as the hooded attacker effortlessly carves through the trashy sentry. One bandit groans as he collapses, dead before he hits the dirt. He looks down at the bodies with a cold expression, annoyed that he let his anger get the better of him. He stands over the mess he made, wishing he had been patient enough to squeeze some intel out of them. He wipes the blood from his blade, reflecting on how impulsive he has become lately. Our guy wonders when he became so reckless before turning his attention to the building's interior. He stands before the massive metal doors, sensing a few human signatures and several faint ones inside. He wonders if the people in there are more experiments or just playthings for the criminals. Sensing the victims, he decides that he needs to get them out of there, regardless of the risk. He thinks back to the countless lessons from Master Klur about the importance of helping others. Back then, he never truly understood why helping people mattered. But things are different now. He pulls his mask up and hopes his mentor would be glad to see he has finally found the will to help others. He kicks the door open to find a group of bandits, drinking and laughing while surrounded by carnage. The hall is a nightmare of blood, splattered walls and broken bodies that the criminals are just ignoring. He draws his blade and steps into the room, ready to purge the filth in front of him. He delivers a strike that shatters a golem's core into pieces. The smash is loud enough that the bandits immediately notice the intruder in their midst. He realizes that silently killing golems is basically impossible because he is still being too rough. He thinks about how O and Rena would react to this mess while he weighs his options. The bandits scream for help and call out the intruder's location to the rest of the hideout. He considers charging them head-on, but he knows they will take hostages if they get ahead of him. He decides his top priority has to be rescuing the captives before the bandits can use them as shields. With his priority set, he leaps away from the initial skirmish to find the cells. He sprints through the corridors, following the faint human signatures he sensed earlier. He reaches a heavy metal door and bursts through it with a massive bang. He pulls down his mask in shock as he sees the horrific scene waiting inside the room. The laboratory is a literal chamber of horrors filled with medical equipment and rows of hospital beds. He stares at the women and children strapped to tables with tubes and restraints, asking himself what this nightmare is. He sees a victim with her head wrapped in bandages and a thick metal collar around her throat. Children lie unconscious in the background while surgical tools sit on nearby trays. The gravity of the atrocity hits him like a physical blow, leaving him gasping for air. Ghostly memories of skeletal remains and failed experiments flood his mind while voices whisper about finally finding a compatible subject. A booming voice screams inside his skull, commanding number 6 to awaken. He collapses to his knees in agony, clutching his head as the psychic backlash tears through him. He groans and gasps for breath, his body drenched in sweat from the sudden trauma. Wrenching his eyes open, he wonders what that voice was, and if it was actually part of him. He asks himself if those were his own buried memories while a blurry image of Klur looking down at him flashes past. He whispers his master's name as he tries to make sense of the mental static. A sudden scream from one of the captives snaps him back to reality, reminding him that he has no time to be lost in his head. He steels himself and decides that he just has to do exactly what he came here for. He approaches the iron bars and tells the huddled women that he has come to help them. One victim asks tentatively who he is as he effortlessly shatters the gate with his bare hands. The women are in total disbelief, sobbing that they might finally get to go home. He tells them they have to leave this hellhole right now before more guards arrive. He steps into the cell, helping the terrified survivors to their feet. One woman asks about the others as she looks toward the beds. He looks down at a girl who clearly did not survive the experiments. She gasps in grief as she realizes another friend is gone. He sees more victims huddled together, their faces marked by exhaustion. He gently closes the dead girl's eyes, showing a rare moment of tenderness. He says a short prayer for her to rest in peace while the survivors look on. The survivors are still sobbing as he stands over the fallen captives. He tells them the bandits will be there any minute, and they have to go immediately. He hears heavy footsteps approaching and realizes they are already here. He tells the women he will handle the trash and asks if he can trust them to look after the ones who cannot walk. The women admit they never knew where they were because they were always moved while blindfolded. One asks if the friends still on the beds will be okay, and he reassures her their bodies are fine even if the drugs have clouded their minds. One of the girls manages a weak smile, finally feeling a spark of hope. He stops mid-sentence as the metal door begins to groan, sensing the enemy on the other side. He asks himself how he could have known everything would be okay before he even arrived. He steps out of the room to find a massive group of bandits waiting for him, all shouting that they have found the intruder. He feels sick to his stomach thinking about what these monsters did to those women. The bandits scream that he came out of the room where the women were locked up and order their friends to swarm him. His chest feels tight and his head is spinning from pure rage as he realizes this feeling is something entirely new to him. Bran is surrounded by bandits who mock the idea that he thought he could save those girls out of some petty sense of justice. The boy remains silent, his cold gaze the only thing visible beneath his dark hood. One meathead complains that they were just about to have some fun before he went and interfered. They call him a special kind of idiot for showing up all by himself, no matter where he crawled out from. One of them screams at him to say something instead of just standing there, asking if he is shaking in his boots. They laugh as he fails to get even a word out, but the look in his eye suggests they should have stayed quiet. He moves with blinding speed, holding the leader by the throat with a blade to his neck while asking who exactly these people are. Blood sprays across the room as he instantly slaughters the entire crew and demands to know what kind of facility this is and why they are doing this. The terrified leader lets out a high-pitched scream as he realizes his entire world has just been wiped out. The interrogation gets brutal as he demands answers from the bastard who dared to attack him. The leader looks broken and bloody, gasping in shock at how quickly his men were ended. He steps on the man's head, crushing his limbs until he screams in pure agony about his arm and leg. The protagonist stares him down with calm eyes, asking one more time what this place actually is. The leader weeps and pleads that he really does not know anything, because they were just following orders. He explains that a hooded figure provided the location and power in exchange for raiding caravans and bringing him kids. The boy looks at the pile of bandit corpses, noting they have nothing to do with the rest of the scheme. He adjusts his hood while the captives peek out, asking themselves what exactly is happening. The liberated women and children approach with wide eyes, wondering what all this is. He points out the wounded bandits and identifies the broken man on the floor as their leader. The captives stare down with vengeful expressions, realizing because of this man, they lost everything. He tells the group he is finished here and that they can do whatever they want with their tormentors now. The leader realization of what is coming and begs them to stop, but it is far too late. One of the victims raises a sword while the leader screams for help and claims he was wrong. The hero turns his back and exits the room as the leader's final desperate screams echo through the hallway. He looks back at the survivors, noting that while they should return to normal soon, the drugs might have side effects. He offers a rare moment of comfort to an exhausted girl, acknowledging the trauma they have endured. He pulls down his mask to breathe, his face showing a mix of exhaustion and lingering anger at the facility. He wonders if this knowledge is just another fragment of his master's teaching while catching his breath. Deciding he will ask for advice when they finally meet, he relies on his master's wisdom and punches through a heavy metal door. He leads the survivors out into the sunlight, asking what they plan to do now that they are free. A woman explains sadly that their families and belongings were all taken, leaving them with nowhere to go. They gather around a carriage he provided, still shaken but finally out of that hellhole. He loads the group into the wagon, making sure everyone is ready for the journey. He suggests requesting protection in Garston within the Radion Empire, noting the Lord there is a person of character. The survivors are moved to tears and thank him as they prepare to head toward safety. A girl spots the destination ahead, her face lighting up with relief. They shout with joy as they see the city gates, finally realizing the nightmare is over. Crying and laughing, they celebrate making it out alive as the city walls loom closer. The boy watches them from a hilltop, partially hidden as he waves them off. He pulls up his cloak and turns away, disappearing into the woods to continue his own journey. A soft smile touches his lips, satisfied that the victims he saved are finally safe. A mysterious figure senses something nostalgic in the air and wonders if it could be him. Standing on a cliff with pointed ears and a dark uniform, the master looks out over the vast mountains. Klur smiles and says it is good to see him doing well as the story moves toward their long-awaited reunion. In a well-furnished room, several rescued children lie in infirmary beds while a doctor checks on them. The Lord listens to the girls' accounts of their rescue, thanking them for speaking despite the pain. He admits that the situation has too many unnatural points to be a mere bandit attack. He wonders how bandits could establish a base in the dangerous Biald Mountains and asks the doctor for a status update. The doctor notes that while the victims will likely recover with time, identifying the drugs used will be difficult. The Lord hums in thought, wondering if the Savior knows something about the research facility. He asks the survivors about the man who saved them, and a girl replies that he was just a young man. Another girl adds that he seemed surprised by the facility and even looked like he was lost at times. The Lord is surprised to hear he looked lost, especially since he predicted they would eventually come to their senses. He shouts in frustration, asking how the Savior could know their condition if he knew nothing of the facility. The survivors flinch as he mutters there was no use in asking them, apologizing for his outburst. He realizes he is dealing with a powerhouse capable of wiping out a bandit group effortlessly while passing through the mountains alone. Suspecting grade 2 strength, he notes there are no reports of anyone like that in the vicinity. He promises the group as much support and aid as possible, whether they stay or return home. Moved to tears, the survivors thank him for his kindness and the promise of a safe future. The Lord tells the victims to go and get some rest, noting they must be exhausted from the day's events. Outside, he tells his butler that bandits committing crimes across the land using teleportation magic must be reported. He orders an immediate report to the capital and prepares to investigate the situation further. The scene shifts to the Black Forest, an area where leaves are dyed black by magic and dangerous monsters roam. He walks through the thick foliage, noting that the dark environment brings back memories. He recalls being made to practice swordsmanship in these woods a lot, under his mentor's watchful eye. A flashback shows his younger self deflecting a monster while his master looks on from the background. Suddenly, several skeletal creatures surround him with terrifying screeches, but he just wonders where the house is. He stands alert among the monsters, noticing a sudden shift in the air. Surveying the monster corpses he just made, he senses a strange presence nearby. He spots a surveillance team hidden in the trees, realizing they are concentrated around a house. With a sigh, he concludes they must be investigating his master as part of their search for him. He thinks of his mentor, knowing even if she had his location, She would not say a single word to anyone. Deciding to avoid the lookouts, he heads toward a secret passage tucked away in the woods. He moves through conspicuous ruins that have likely been thoroughly investigated by others already. He notices an unnaturally low number of monsters in the area, no matter when he visits. He stops in front of a stone pillar and lets out a soft sound as he finds the entrance. He approaches a massive statue of a knight holding a sword, trying to remember the exact spot. Kneeling down, he searches the base and confirms he has found the hidden mechanism. A small click sounds as he presses the secret switch tucked into the stone. He stands up and begins pushing the statue's giant sword in a specific pattern. After another click, the ground begins to rumble with a heavy sound. The statue slides aside, revealing a hidden passage that opens beneath the monument. The rumble continues as the secret entrance is fully exposed. He declares everything is ready and begins his descent into the dark staircase. He walks through a stone corridor, noting the light stones that activate automatically by absorbing mana. He thinks it would be handy to have some of these at home while continuing down the hallway. Suddenly, he stops in his tracks, questioning the flow of the wind in the tunnel. He senses movement behind him just as a sudden gust of air brushes past. A powerful sword strike flashes through the dark, forcing him to yell in shock as he barely dodges. He tumbles back, stammering in surprise at the suddenness of the attack. He looks up alertly, realizing he did not even notice the person until they were right in front of him. A figure steps out of the shadows with a drawn sword, noting it has been a long time since anyone pulled off a stunt like that. The boy and his mentor sit at a table, discussing his sudden return to the forest. She asks if his life has finally settled down, but he says he actually has something to ask. He holds up a paper and asks if she recognizes the symbol drawn on it. The master breaks into a sweat, her eyes widening in shock as she asks what that thing is. He is surprised by her reaction, explaining he came to her because he did not know either. She tells him to draw a dog just in case, ignoring his confusion as she demands he just do it. He gets to work scribbling on the paper with a serious expression. He holds up his finished drawing, declaring it is all done. She stares at the messy monstrosity with a blank expression for several seconds. With a heavy sigh, she covers her face and asks if that is supposed to be a dog. He insists it obviously is, which finally makes her break into a warm smile and laugh. She realizes he is just as bad at drawing as he was as a kid while he remains confused. She decides it is better to listen to his words than look at that monstrosity and tells him to describe what he saw. He complains as she points at the drawing, but then starts explaining the swirled bottom parts. He describes seeing a person facing one way and a demon facing the other, joined together. Her expression turns serious as she draws a professional version of the crest, asking if that is it. She becomes terrifyingly cold, asking exactly where he saw that specific symbol. He stammers in shock as he explains it looked like people were conducting human experiments there. Suddenly, a massive wave of dark bloodlust erupts from her, shattering the air and making him sweat. She quickly suppresses the pressure and apologizes, claiming it was just force of habit. He notes the outburst probably took out the lookouts outside who are shown unconscious on the ground. She admits she does not care because they were annoying anyway, then asks again about the crest. She identifies the symbol as the Majinkai, which makes him repeat the name in surprise. She explains it is an organization born from a partnership between rogue demons and humans. He raises his hand like a student, noting demons are dangerous because they are intelligent. He asks if humanity has sided with the Demon King, but she says it is not quite that. She reveals the demons involved betrayed their creator and are researching a way to fuse with humans. They want to create a new race by using kidnapped humans as raw materials for their experiments. The boy looks on in silent horror as the full scale of their plan begins to sink in. She holds up a jar of dark liquid, asking if he knows what the substance is. He asks if it is blood, and she confirms it is a drug composed primarily of monster blood. He looks sickened as she explains it is injected into subjects to mutate their bodies from the inside out. She notes that while humans can recover initially, they eventually fall into derangement and die as their blood rejects it. She adds that a coalition of Grade Zero adventurers once wiped them out, including herself and various knights. Realizing the crest is back means the remnants have regrouped and are operating in the shadows once more. He suggests informing the capital, but she tells him to stay out of it this time. She insists this is a matter for those who failed to finish the job in the past. She wears a gentle smile, telling him to enjoy the new life he has started. She pats his head while he looks annoyed, reminding him he is finally free. He looks down with complicated emotions, finally muttering that he understands her decision. Suddenly they both sense a presence approaching the house at high speed. The front door is kicked open with a loud bang, surprising the boy. A woman with goggles bursts in, tears streaming down her face as she yells for the master. The master remains calm, recognizing the presence as Regina throws herself into a sobbing hug. The woman cries hysterically about how long it has been while the boy wonders if he should brew some tea. He thinks he can actually make tea on his own now and wonders if his master will be surprised. The chapter conclusion approaches with a feeling that a major storm is brewing. He tries to bring up the news about the Black Emperor quitting the guild. The goggles girl stops crying and looks at him with an intense, teary-eyed gaze. She clings to her former leader while the boy lets out a startled sound at her sudden focus. She points at him and screams, demanding to know who the hell he is as the encounter turns volatile. The master is shown smiling with a look of pride and confidence in her eyes. The boy looks serious and determined, calling out to her as they face the new arrival. Flashback training shows feet moving with speed across the field. The master strikes with multiple blades, pushing her student to his absolute limits. The boy gasps and grunts in pain as he struggles to block the onslaught of her training. The mentor flips effortlessly over Bran like he is standing still, leaving him panting from the greeting. He steadies himself and calls out to Clure, who just smirks at his reaction. She is relieved to see he has not wasted the last 3 years while living his quiet life. The boy points out that it is not like he could use magic anyway, given his circumstances. It is true, because if he had used magic, those searching for him probably would have found him by now. She explains that she made him use nothing but magic during his career because of his insane innate capacity. He is horrified to learn his own mana was so vast that there was a chance his power could have killed him. To prevent that, the elf drilled magic into her student until he learned the art of controlling it himself. Despite the intensive magic training, she admits that her own actual specialty is the sword. She explains that is why she taught him the sword too, and clearly the skill came in handy. He realizes he has been protected all along and offers a sincere thank you. Even after all his growth, the mentor notes he has really improved, though he thinks she is still on another level. The elf decides it is time to test him a bit more and draws her blade with a mischievous look. Our guy panics, warning that if she runs wild, the lookouts will notice them. She just laughs it off, claiming no adventurers of that caliber could ever notice them at this distance. She lunges forward, wanting him to enjoy their reunion to the fullest. The boy is forced to dodge rapid strikes, grunting as the mentor taunts him for being too defensive. He screams that he is not holding back, but the master just tells him to stop dodging and actually attack. Suddenly, he finds himself pinned to the ground just like the old days. Caught in her grip, he suffers through a playful head rub while remembering all the training he endured back then. He sighs and admits he still cannot catch up to the woman's ridiculous speed. She helps him up, reminding him she has lived by the sword and won't be surpassed so easily. Even if he is exhausted, the boy knows if she got serious, this whole passage would have been blown away. He has grown enough to at least tell the difference in their power now. The elf bursts out laughing and tackles her student into a massive hug, glad to see his progress. He is caught off guard by the sudden affection and tries to pull away. The boy blushes while reminding her he is an adult now and should not be treated like a child forever. Inside the house, the master introduces her other disciple, Regina, to the boy. The goggled girl is having a total meltdown, demanding to know where the Black Emperor went. She is told he is currently living as a rookie in Kingdom Relate, but the fangirl refuses to accept the retirement. The girl is stunned to hear her hero retired 3 years ago while she was busy on Heavenly Thunder Mountain. She face plants onto the floor in complete shock, sobbing that she only just finished her request and returned to this news. Our boy figures she must be incredibly strong to survive that dangerous place and his master's training. The mentor praises her for working hard while the student mutters that it makes sense. Despite her distress, the master reminds her that the fact of the retirement remains unchanged. She wails on the ground, asking why anyone would throw away such high status. The mentor pats her head and explains that not everyone is obsessed with status. Apparently, he found something more important, which leaves the boy repeating those words to himself, while the girl remains totally lost. He wonders if his current life is truly important to him, noting the days are incomparably more rewarding than before. He crosses his arms while the mentor smiles in the background, thinking about Arya and his other new friends. The elf asks if the girl is free now that her request is over, and the master declares that is perfect. The mentor suddenly asks the girl to look after the boy for a while, which leaves both of them in total shock. She protests, asking why the master cannot do it herself when she is standing right there. The elf claims she has business to attend to and cannot deal with him herself. This makes the boy worry she is heading out to deal with the Majinkai remnants. The master leans in and offers a bribe, promising to reveal the hero's location if the job is done well. This makes the girl's eyes widen as she immediately switches gears, becoming deadly serious. The boy thinks it is pathetic that his master still thinks he is some kid who needs his hand held. Regardless, the girl suddenly grabs him in a headlock and shouts that she will take full responsibility for him. The boy is overwhelmed as the girl tells him to just stick close to her. She boasts that with her around, he will be as strong as 100 men. He can only look at his master, who just smiles and tells them both to rest up. Later, they agree to work together, as the mentor tells them they must be exhausted from their travels. He enters his old room and finds it exactly as he left it, even though he barely remembers spending any time there. It is strange the mentor left it untouched despite taking other disciples. He realizes he never actually met anyone else here besides the elf, and he tries to recall those days. He pictures a younger version of himself during his intense training. He clutches his chest and head, feeling a sudden wave of anxiety over his missing memories. His head is spinning and his heart won't stop racing, just like it did at that facility. A loud knock interrupts his spiraling thoughts as the guest announces she is coming in. The girl enters and points out that he is filthy from the earlier spar. The mentor sent him flying earlier, so the guest tells him to use the free bath. As he leaves, she delivers a cryptic message from the master, "Do not sink." He laughs awkwardly, having no clue what that is supposed to mean. After his bath, he hears shouting from the kitchen about the mentor actually making dinner. The girl is having another freak out over the master's rare cooking attempt. He tries to remember what her food was like, but his memories are a total blank. The boy enters the room and asks if something is wrong, and the guest yells that everything is wrong. The mentor sighs, noting the other disciples were always complaining about her food. He takes a bite and his face goes completely blank as he realizes the meal is totally tasteless. When asked if it is good, he slowly replies that it just tastes like the ingredients themselves. He slides the salt shaker over to the guest and explains he just wanted to see his master. She asks what really brought him back to the country since he is active in another kingdom. He swallows his food and claims he is just here for some sightseeing. The guest is skeptical, shouting that he does not seem the type while the master asks if it is so strange. She yells at the master that he looks weak and spacey, especially for being only grade 8. She wonders how a low ranker managed to find this house in such a dangerous forest. He stammers through an answer while the elf chuckles at the interrogation. The mentor reveals she went and picked him up herself to grant her dear student's wish. He asks her to drop the overly polite tone and wonders why she is so obsessed with his past persona. She looks serious as she reveals the hero saved her life a few years ago. She admired him so much, she became a disciple to stand by his side one day. She yells that she trained to be worthy of him, only to meet him like this. The girl starts sobbing into her food, while the mentor notes that life is long and things happen. When asked for details, she mentions the tragedy of Mioran, which makes the boy gasp in recognition. Regina reveals she is a survivor of that terrible day. The day the Grade 1 designated monster, Lich Raid, appeared. 5 of them appeared at once with an army of 10,000, wiping the whole duchy off the map in a single night. Those killed were turned into new soldiers for the army, creating a high-priority emergency. The association deployed the hero, but many lives were lost before he arrived. She survived thanks to him, but her whole family died, which is why she became an adventurer to ensure no one else suffers that fate. He tells her she worked really hard, which makes her blush and smile broadly. She boasts about climbing all the way to Grade 1, and the boy continues to praise her as amazing. This delights the girl, and even the master joins in on the laughter as they enjoy the rare moment of peace. Later that night, the girl has fallen asleep on the bed while the boy cleans up the kitchen. The master enters in a robe, carrying a bottle of wine and inviting him to stay for a drink. He notes he has never had alcohol, but she points out his poison resistance will likely keep him sober. As she pours the glass, she asks him seriously how his new life has been going.